beautiful beings. Sorry for the delay. I was doing a live over on Facebook and I'm on my computer and my computer is saying it's a mobile, won't let me edit or change. So I am coming from my mobile, which was not my desired communication style, just because I know the speaker on my mobile is not as uh, potent as the computer. But welcome, welcome, welcome. I do have the laptop behind me, so I should be able to see your comments really quite easily and gracefully. This is a guided Q&A just to ask any specific questions around my journey as a human being, as a Anunnaki, as the original divine race, to ask any questions in relation to the quantum information, to ask my channel. I am still without my light body, so channeling is a little a little slower when you don't have all parts of you, but I am here to answer anything that would be of assistance. So I'm Geeia Ariati. I'm of sound heart and sound mind. I'm going to see if I can bring myself a little closer. uh, let's take a couple of deep breaths together. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And just landing in the center of your heart, staying anchored in your heart space for these transmissions. Anytime that you feel yourself disassociate and go up into your mind or out of body, just breathing yourself back into your body, breathing yourself back into the physicality, and allowing yourself, if you need to, hold your hands on your sacral, on your heart, tap if you need to stay here as a reminder. We're so used to being disconnected from the fullness of our essence and our being that sometimes it takes quite a lot of training to tune back in, to return back to presence over and over and over again. But you're doing an amazing job. So in any of my transmissions, you will experience some vibrational transformation, recalibration, realignment, and you may have remembrances. So that is all normal. And basically, when I uncloaked myself from the public eye about just going on a month now, and I was asked to step up my service in being seen. And the reason that I had been cloaked is because of who I am and who I be, and basically I am, and many of us are, at the effect of psychic attack, but well beyond that, being hunted. As a child, if I was seen in that who I am, I would not be here today. I would not be able to be here. Now I'm in God's protection, God's law, and I've done the necessary ownership and recalibration of self. I can stand in the forefront and speak the truth that is uncomfortable to many and also causes a lot of threat. So since then, it's been beautiful to arrive here and get to share my inner guidance and the message through me from source to you, and to be of assistance in that way. And so this is what this is. It's sort of a little bit of a, what do you want to know about me? What do you want to know about my journey? And what would be of assistance to the collective in some of the things that people have, any of the questions that are really potent and powerful, and I don't get time to look at them, I will do my best to prioritize in vibrational contribution to all and create some individual videos on what they may be, or some you can't do too much in a reel for 1 minute. But all right, question: do you find any tools assistance on any tools assist you? Hang on, I'm going to read it over here. Do you find any tools assist you on your journey, such as crystals or devices? If so, what have you tried and what has worked for you? Beautiful. This is a great question because I feel it's a very multifaceted answer. Now, for me, my guidance was when I awoke and started. One of the first remembrances that I had, there was two main ones. The first one was I saw myself on a stage in a stadium speaking to thousands of people, and had the full body goosebumps and was fully just like, whoa, okay, I know that I'm here to make massive contribution and change to the planet. And at the time I thought maybe I'd be a keynote speaker. I was not awake in this form of who I am. I was only just remembering, but that's how Source guided it for me, was very big remembrances first, because I had to work through a lot of things to get to that. And then the second one was actually, it was the level of consciousness connection that I received, and I saw myself as one of the original Anunnaki in the vision of or the remembrance of the creation of the earth. And obviously at that point in time I was like, if I share this with anyone, they're going to think I'm crazy. Who's ever going to believe me? I don't even know if I believe me. And so in that I was shown some really big pieces, and then lots of big pieces continually would happen, and it took a lot of time for me to digest what I was seeing and making sense of. And I didn't share things until I knew. Like, I would not share anything until I knew, because I did not want to be seen as crazy. I did not want to be dysregulated or shunned. And so, like many, I've kept a lot of information to myself until I've been pushed to speak it. Now I speak it freely, but in that, my guidance was, you are not to learn from anyone outside of yourself or anything outside of yourself. So what was guided was I went to an Access Consciousness week long training, which at that time absolutely changed my reality. I was like, wow, everything I believe is not even true. And I do feel that there's a lot of amazing, powerful tools in Access Consciousness, as there is with every modality, but they're still limited, and they're usually from one lens of polarity. And Access Consciousness is mostly from the masculine expression of consciousness. It is a masculine creator. And so that was one tool. That was a tool that basically I walked in, and then because of my remembrance of what I already knew within myself, I deconditioned so much identity. My entire reality looked different because I was really just being reminded of what I already knew beyond my this lifetime human personality. And so when that happened and I started to continue down my journey, I was accessing so much information. I didn't know that I was a channel. I didn't understand that my intuition was profoundly connected to all things, and I would just know things. And the message was, no learning, no reading, no tools, and you must sit with yourself. And so I couldn't even watch a podcast, and I had to change all my music that I listened to, and I had to decondition my neurology. And the reason for that was so that the tool became that which I am. And so it was a training to become the instrument for the divine, and not having a preconceived history or manipulation from outside sources. So when we talk about ancient history, when we talk around different modalities and mystery schools, they all have their stories, their beliefs, their interpretations. But what was very important for me was, you cannot, the message was, everything in your reality is distorted truth. And I was like, okay. And I was guided to pick up the Bible, and I picked the Bible up and I was reading it, and my body would start contracting, purging, and vibrating at every word that was manipulated. And so you would see a verse, and there would be 4 to 5 words within that were changed from the purest truth. And then I was given the word that was meant to be in there. Now, at some time I would love to transcribe the Bible through the awareness that the conduits that wrote the Bible and the manipulation agendas that have moved on from there created a frequency shift which changed the entire message. The entire message. So when it comes to tools, I am not opposed to tools in any way, shape, or form. My journey was not to use them so that I access that true source connection within. I do feel that crystals have an amazing consciousness to be used. I've used them for a very short period of time, but I've only ever used tools to access that point of vibrational frequency and connection within myself. So when I started to use crystals, I was like, oh, we're using crystals now. This is weird. I don't do this. I'm not a crystal girl. And I felt a little bit like that. I'm like, I'm not a crystal girl. And so I would pick up the crystals and I would feel into them and I would place them on different parts of the body and I would do geometry and light language, and what they were teaching me was the vibration of what they held, energetic signature. So I was basically downloading the crystal into my own being to unlock that within my torus field. And then I would step away. The same with crystal bowls. The crystal bowls were there to realign my throat chakra, to allow for me to use different tonal expressions with my Lemurian consciousness and my Atlantis consciousness. And then the crystal bowls, I love them. I do. I actually love laying down in crystal bowls, but I don't play them because I am the crystal bowl now is the expression. So I feel like every tool that we have at whatever layer of consciousness has its time, it has its gift, but we are supposed to evolve beyond it. So when you have people, I know there's a lot of questions here, so when we have people that are getting stuck in galactic consciousness and they're communicating with Arcturians and Pleiadians and Sirians, it's because they've actually come to a point of capping their own evolvement, and they have either come to their remembrance and they've chosen not to evolve beyond it, which is fine. Absolutely fine, but for me, it is not true for me to stay in a polarized expression of reality, and this galaxy is that. It would be to evolve into a unity consciousness expression. And so at some point, your guides need to not be Pleiadians. They need to not be Arcturians. They need to be a higher expression of an angelic representative of the seraphim, the cherubim, the Elohim, and moving up into a higher frequency of light information that allows us to unlock more consciousness of the oneness and expand our own vibrational expression. So I hope that was helpful. You mentioned at some point the Galactic Federation did not like you very much. Thank you. I love this question. Okay, so the Galactic Federation, I used to work for the Galactic Federation, so I can't say that I dislike them. I just don't agree with their methodology and the way that they conduct business, because that's what it is. It's business to them. So if we look at the Galactic Federation is made up of main 12 constellations. However, they do have representatives from the unity consciousness field that are there as a middle way to assist with the light and the dark agendas and what is best for the galaxy, and from the from in decision making and how they communicate. However, the Galactic Federation do not have the intention or the agenda of giving humanity sovereign free will. So this is where my misalignment is my highest truth of what I know is that everyone comes into the son and daughter of God, the king and queen of God, the child of God, that everyone lives by God's law and not by a construct of reality that has been created to keep someone from evolving and transcending. So this universe, and we have our universal law, and then there's galactic laws, and for me, my teachings are around transcending those, so that you are in alignment with God's law, which trumps all, and then you transcend these ideals and ideas, and you can start to use this reality in such a beautiful, powerful, and magical way. And so, because I'm here to teach and guide individuals into sovereignty, the Galactic Federation don't specifically like me, but I have been a precious commodity to them with my channel and with the information that I have in light frequency. And so there was, when I stepped away because I was like, actually, it's not, for me, no life lost with an agenda is for the greatest good of all beings. If you have a viewpoint where you're like, it's collateral, that for me doesn't work. If you're willing to destroy land, people's lives, and cause destruction in the name of a better evolved experience, so basically to justify murder in the evolution of the planet, because that's what it is. It's a very see, they don't like me. They try and disrupt my expression by toning me. So what better. Okay, so what that means basically is, because their intention is to create and continue to use Earth as an experiment, that I no longer align with their intention. My intention is different, and that also means that they lost a vital role in their council. So I went from the Galactic Federation into Coyotes, which was a council. Well, I was actually a double agent, and I worked for both, where I didn't realize that I was working for both, because like most people, I had divisions in my consciousness expressions that had yet to be purified and brought into holistic connection and oneness. But I was working for the Galactic Federation, and I was working for Coyotes, the Council of One. Thankfully, Coyotes means basically masculine and feminine coming into unity. So they're the Unity Consciousness Council, and they sit just outside this galaxy, and they sit on the outskirts and have a higher expression of information. So some of the channels that you would have seen if you've listened to any of my posts, they are from Coyotes, so they're not the highest truth that I have access to now, which is fine. It still holds truth. They all hold truth, and the interpretation is for that level of consciousness to be received, and the information to be received at that point. So just so anyone's aware, I've had people say, why are you using an Illuminati symbol? It's not an Illuminati symbol. Just like anything, you can use things for inversions or balance or ascensions. This actually helps me to anchor when I have different energies being projected at me. Are we completely safe? Yes. Are we completely secure? No. Okay, so I'm just going to place some security fields around. Haya andia tare kiaria to koyandiana hashiti kiaria atakiaria no koyana me eseriandi bi shikere ea se keana mi india taya u ea se kiariate e titua. And we're completely safe. Yes. Okay, beautiful. So when so many questions. All right. Let me just go back. I feel like I answered the Galactic Federation one to the best of my ability. All of these questions, really I could spend hours explaining, unpacking, and moving through the different layers of dimensions that are there. And there is only one of me, which is why if you are listening to this, and you have a conference style event that you have a nice range of individual beings, or that you can get me in front of the media, or this is a call to support, because that is what is desired, is that I get to speak into these aspects of consciousness and these layers to a big audience of people that are ready to receive and listen. So if that resonates, please reach out and share your opportunity with me. All right, where are we at? Mantis Tech last night. Okay, so when it comes to this, this question is, you noticed Mantis Tech last night after so much work trying not to doubt myself and so many suggestions of whether I may be Anunnaki, and well, has me wondering if you can, if you can, as one, tell or not tell if someone's Anunnaki. So for me, it's easy because I know this. I had the Alexander library coded into my vessel. So I have every energy signature coded into my physical body that can tell you if something is true or if it's an illusion. And that's great, right? That's like I can just look at something and go, no, sorry, that's not true. And it's not hard for me. I don't have to tune in. I just feel it and I just know it. And it did take time to master, and it did take time to solidify and ground and become present. But I can tell you if you are or aren't something. And it's not in a negative way. It's like, if you're something, awesome. If you're not, awesome. That means that you get to find out who you are and what your medicine is, and what is available for you as the unique individual you are. So I do have that capacity to go, you have this energy signature, you have this archetype, you have this origin, you have this bloodline, you have this connection to this part of the earth, you have this timeline, you have traveled this galaxy. That is quite easeful, simple for me. However, is it helpful? Is it helpful for me to go and tell you who you are and where you've come from? Or is it more powerful for you to go into your own inner remembrance and access that? Now, on saying that, then there's the challenge that there are holograms and there are infiltrated expressions of consciousness that will mutate your memory. So you have had, and so this works in a positive and a negative lens, like everything in this experience, is that I've had a demonic consciousness put within my vessel so that I could meet it from my inner expression through my body, so that I could understand the demon. Now, that demonic consciousness was actually a previous divine counterpart's consciousness, which I cleared and purified for him, and then was given back 18 months later, when he was able to retain that consciousness and hold it within his field. Now, for me, I've had the one of my lifetimes, I didn't have to purify. I had a being that was of service to the greater mission, to my journey, to my mission. Never met her in my entire life. Met her through the knowing of a soul brother that held the consciousness of one of my Greek lifetimes. She went through the purification of all the pain, the challenge, and the suffering, and then I was able to reclaim and return it and receive all of the gifts of that. Because there's, when you start to understand reality to the depths of it, every energy signature has once you know unworthiness, you know unworthiness. So you don't need to go through all of the unworthiness in every lifetime. You only need to meet the aspects of what has a different vibrational fragmentation that has created the separation point. So in saying that, yes, I can do that. And I do that in soul energy blueprint readings, that I work with people at helping to guide them more into who they are and what they are. But it's not done with just me telling you. We do it together. We co-create an experience where we're in source frequency together, and we access the information together, so that you know that what you've received is you, and it's not a story that someone's told you. It's not a projection that someone said you're this based on their probably misguided information of how to read frequency as well, because of the amount of infiltration that there is and trickery. So if you are actually an Anunnaki, you've probably been going, I am not that. Nope. I am not going to be that. If you are one of the original creators of the earth, there will be extreme resistance to even wanting to be that and claiming that. And you will spend many years going, I don't care if I am, I'm not telling anyone. Right? Because that's the responsibility that comes with being a being like that. I don't know if anyone wants to actually be Anunnaki, because have you looked at this reality and what ownership there is to take on by being that? All right. Hello, beautiful. Oh, Yam, your brother's in Bali. It's so amazing here. I've landed in my new place. Oh, it's divine. While I'm reading through, if you don't already follow me on Instagram, I would absolutely love for the Instagram support. I've been trying to move through a censorship thing with Instagram for years now. And if I get a big influx of people, I feel like it might assist with unlocking that. And if you can send some love and some rewiring of that, that would be amazing. What are the structures under the Antarctica ice? That would require a full in-depth channel. Is there relevance? The important thing to share around ice and Antarctica and the aspects of the earth that have been intentionally kept out of one's ability to connect with them is that the ice holds the documentation and the information through the crystalline structures of a higher evolved expression that comes through water. And by keeping it frozen, it means that the water on the planet can be continued to be polluted, and the information that one could unlock their vessel with through dimensions of frequency and vibration of coding and templates that is stored through the frozen ice and the different structures that are contained this information allows for the entrapment of the earth to continue to maintain by polluting the waters. So that basically means that I could go into some great depths there, but the ice is a library, and the ice holds a lot of information, purified information, and it's stored in a way that is not accessible by freezing it. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. Yeah. Thank you. I love sitting in on the golden copper pyramid that it sits on, holding and expanding the field. I love working. If you ever feel like you want some additional support with your Trinity, and working in your Trinity. So you might have been only working in one pillar or two pillars, but if you have the capacity to put yourself in a golden pyramid and place your Trinity in that so that you can work in all layers that create your holy grail, that will be very supportive to the transformation that takes place. Thank you for the birthday message. I am in this incarnation 37 years old, 37 days of 37 years on this planet. Okay, so do I want to talk about Metatron? So many great conversations. All right. I used to fear people who channeled Thoth and or Metatron, as I heard they were distorted entities. My understanding now is that there are positive and fallen versions of both. Is this your view? Thank you, ambient life. Thank you, ambient life. Absolutely 100% true. All right, so for many of you, if you don't know, I don't refer to this other than when it's necessary. I am the goddess incarnation of Isis. Yes, many people claim to be this. I 100% know that that is who I have been and what I have been, because it took me 18 months of purification and looking at all of the distortions, densities, black magic, temple art, mutations, Satanism, all the things. So I've met my demons. And what I can say about this is what I've come to know through that journey, and then also through the remembrance of the awareness of all of the other brothers and sisters that I've worked with in this space that are that. So thankfully, I'm grateful that I have some very powerful players that I've journeyed this path with, and we've attracted in resonance to find the truth and to ensure that the mistakes that took place on the earth are corrected, and they are being corrected, and there's a lot of purification and timeline transformation that's taken place, which is so beautiful and so amazing. And that it can only happen through looking at all layers of the distortions. So when it comes to Thoth or Isis, right? There is no longer, is this true? Yes. There is no longer a false hologram of Isis, because the Isis hologram was actually stored within my body, and it was outside of, I could see it outside of myself. I could see this distortion of consciousness, but the hologram was actually within my vessel. So it's very hard to find trickery that's in your own experience. So there was a technology that was created in Atlantis by Marduk and some of the other players that I will not mention in security of who they be. But Marduk created a hologram technology where basically what was done was the gods and the goddesses, or the Anunnaki, the powerful beings that came here, their essence was effectively copied. And so the essence of their consciousness was copied, and then it was mutated to create a hologram. And the hologram exists in a way that it can be coded and mutated. So your essence is your essence in truth when it's connected to God. But when you copy your essence's energy signature and you make tweaks in different directions, it is witness received and used in different ways. Now, the hologram was connected to the control rooms of hell. So Marduk moved from Atlantis through some different other planes, and then ended up as the Satan consciousness in the control room of hell. And how that worked is these holograms could be infiltrated with thoughts, vibrations, directives, and that would come up inside whoever the being was that was holding the inversion hologram. And so how we can make a little bit more sense of this around the positive and the fallen versions is that until I'll just use myself. Isis's consciousness actually was before this galaxy. So her essence that was seen in ancient Egypt actually came from a seraphim dragon representation of her consciousness in a parallel universe where she and Osiris in his dragon consciousness created a dragon, a super dragon race, and there was some division points and this beautiful dragon race actually was destroyed through war and destruction, and Osiris and Isis actually ended up fragmenting, and they've had some challenges through the time-space continuum, so it's not all as it sounds, and so in that there was a point of that was where the Isis energy actually was created, and it was brought through and brought in as an assistance to the main consciousness of using that seraphim dragon frequency in form in the Temple of Arts, and to work with different aspects of consciousness at that point in time. So with the purification of her consciousness, it meant meeting her in all layers. So not only the inversion of the hologram, but to purify her meant meeting the satanic expressions of consciousness, meeting the distortions of purity, which is the false light expression, moving through from the one-dimensional to the two, to the 3, to the 5, to the 7, to the 9, and moving through these layers until every distortion of what that was of Isis was released and purified, and so that she no longer holds a distortion of consciousness. So if you tune into her energy vibration, and if you've worked with her before, you might notice the shift in the shift in her expression is because she's no longer divided into pieces and parts. So she was fragmented. And so when we channel, you could have channeled a very hurt version of her, or if you were channeling a part of, and now the same with Murdoch's consciousness is now purified, but it wasn't. So if you channeled Murdoch or Thoth in their unpurified selves, then you're going to get very distorted information because you're talking to their descended consciousness that hasn't been met in totality and is not working for God Source Creator. It's working for a capital G-O-D, which is the Anunnaki. And that is the entrapment program of the earth. So your information would not be of its highest expression, and that's where the trickery can come in. So I hope that made sense. And we all have this. So how we can make this sense of this in a more human form is that you have layers of your own consciousness. You, depending on where you've evolved to, will be your highest self or your highest expression, your highest monadic being. You might have only evolved to the 9th dimension. Not only, right? That's pretty epic in this reality. Right? So if you've gone to the 9th dimension, that's a part of your galactic consciousness. But what part of your 7th dimensional consciousness still has distortion that hasn't allowed it to merge into the oneness point of who you are, and still keeps you being this human being separate from your 7th dimensional self, rather than bringing it in and being and becoming the I am of it. Whew. Now, if you have a descended consciousness that you're unwilling to admit, there's parts of you that have played in demonic expressions through time and space, that has been a part or at the effect of Satanism, that has used black magic and sorcery, then whilst you keep that part of your own consciousness in separation, and that might be as human as you're a vampire, you feed off other people's energy because you haven't connected to your own source frequency. That's still a level of Satanism, because you're still using the same energy frequency, just from a different lens of perspective. And so those, when you meet them and when you see why they're there and you see why they've served you and you see the belief systems, the contracts, and you reclaim that, they're no longer separate. The demon can only exist when it hasn't been seen as to why it was created, and then it comes in, and the angelic expression or the essence of what was hiding underneath that can be brought back into self. All right. Wrong? I don't know what that means. Hang on. Oh, I just skipped down. Whoops. Purification takes most of our body. Takes time. Most of our bodies have a lot of toxins we can heal, but it takes time. Exactly. Purification takes a lot of time, not just from the physical, but from the energetic. You can purify your physical body through different tinctures and medicines, but if you haven't met the distorted toxic thought or the energy signature that created that in the first place, you can only purify for so much, and you need to meet those aspects that are creating that toxicity, or it will re-manifest in other ways. Yes, so if you have holograms, if all of you probably have holograms, a hologram, because of its control structures and we're basically having toning of thought and different subliminal influence into the being, means that you can attach to a feeling or a thought form that is not yours, and it can make you feel bad or good. And until we have connected to ourselves enough to know, is this mine? Is this what I was fine before, and now I feel like I'm enraged and I want to kill someone? Why is this here? And rather than allowing that frustration to be attached to and played out, then yes, you can definitely be extremely influenced by the holograms, the infiltration. But also, I have a very different experience to some of the brothers and sisters that are also Anunnaki and original. There are some that are really influenced by these technologies. I have some that have been, they don't know what their thoughts are. There's psychosis. There's been a lot of challenges in mental stability, being able to ground, knowing what their channel's saying, and their channel being influenced and mutated and manipulated, and having someone's consciousness that isn't there, that's telling them that it is them. And people thinking they're Christ when they're not Christ, and all of these things to basically keep someone in turbulence and in a conflict. But I have not experienced that. So I know that even though I've had infiltration in my field, I've had holograms, I had the Isis hologram, and I refused to allow that hologram to influence my field because I have choice. So even though it may have taken me some time to find these different things that were stored in my vessel, they did not and have not played out in my experience because I simply wouldn't let them. It's like, you could hold a crack pipe in your hand, and you could be like, yeah, I've got this tool. I could use it. Might be nice. Might numb me. But I'm going to see it for what it is, and actually don't want to play in those realms because I know what that might create. But I'll hold it. I'll gently hold it so that no one else is at the effect of it, right? So that's how we can go, actually, yes, I'm aware these things are here, but I am not allowing myself to play, dance, or be a part of what they create in the world, because if I do, I'm creating more separation and more effectively, and this is how I had to come to it in my mind, was I will not create more evil in the world, because if I'm creating from this, I'm creating evil. Evil is that of, not of God. And so I've used polarity to master my mind, and I've used it to purify myself by being very, very hard on myself. And it's not for everyone to be this disciplined and military style. But for me, my path and my mission was extremely important, that I knew the human part of me that was like, nobody loves me and it's not fair. Needed that. I needed to be like, actually, you are in control of this, and that's a lie, that's a story. You're not even allowed to go down that path of speaking that. Feel your feelings, get up, and go sit and practice. And so that was how I was. I was like a military sergeant to myself. And my source guidance was a lot more loving and compassion than my ego. I was guided and made aware of Nana Anna, grandmother of Jesus, who Biriata Yandena. So before I speak this out, I'm going to change the word Geesus to Yeshua, for a very specific reason. I'm going to bring this in because it's very important, is that Geesus is a created consciousness or a hologram of religious programming and manipulation and entrapment through Christianity and other church structures that have created a spirit or a expression of consciousness that is not of Christ or Christos. And by using that word, we actually continue to feed its power. And so if we look at all of the religions that are using this, and they're saying that you go through that expression to find oneself in the Savior, they're unfortunately getting misguided and misled. So I would if it feels true for you, to maybe shift your expression of that word into Yeshua, and also to define that Yeshua and Christ are not the same. Christ consciousness was what Yeshua created in his human experience as he left. He created Christ consciousness, which is not him. It is a consciousness, like amnesia consciousness, like shame consciousness, like anger consciousness, like seventh dimensional consciousness. Christ consciousness is a access point where you can experience that of which he developed through his experience as a way to help activate and remind oneself of oneself. So I was guided and made aware of Nana Anna, grandmother of Yeshua, who speaks a lot about light codes. I'm just remembering now. I would love to know more about Nana and Nana if you care to share any knowledge. So I do not have a great deal of knowledge in the ASEAN timeline. I was not here. I was, but I wasn't. So my time was that I was known as Isis for 1,003 years through the ancient Egyptian time, and I body swapped 3 times to maintain my ability to stay in vitality and purity as much as I could, and power. And my connection to Yeshua is that Yeshua's energy signature is what created my monadic self. So I am, I guess, the daughter of Yeshua, many however long back that was, not time space recordable, but my connection is from that he's my father in a very multi-dimensional realm, and I would, if there's any being that could still manage to allow me, I would lay down myself in every way possible for this. He gave me life and many teachings. Oh, I want to cry. However, as Isis on the physical realm of Earth and Yeshua, their connection was very different. And Yeshua came to the temple of Isis and went through the Baraka process, or the purification process of the temple. And so I did not go to to Jerusalem or to any of the lands of the ASEAN expression. I do not. I hold the rose lineage codes only from my connection to Mary, but I am not a. I'm not a rose lineage code holder. I can gift them, but they are not mine, and I use her consciousness in its purified form to express that through me. I hold very different energy signatures and much more a masculine Christ template holder, and so when it comes to information about that, I would have to directly channel that, because I don't actually know myself from my own remembrance, because Mary and Yeshua came to the temple of Isis and they went through this process, and I had already come to a point where I had failed my mission. Whew, that still hurts. Whew. So didn't know that was still there. Still needs some alchemizing. I had failed my mission, the Emerald Tablets, the Law of One, and I had fragmented too far from being able to complete my mission. And so when Yeshua and Mary came to go through the Baraka process so that they could continue their mission in the highest truth, I took on part of their pain and their consciousness. So that's where we say swapping consciousness can be helpful, and it can also not be. So I took on the energy and the heartbreak of Mary through the heart space, and I took different layers of human distortion from Yeshua, so that they could be of service to the highest good. So that is my knowing of them. I know of how I assisted and how I served, and also what I hold and retain within me, and how I can gift that to those that do hold this lineage, but it is not my own remembrance. I moved from Egypt in those final days of the Great Flood, through a deep purification, and then moved into, without leaving the earth, and transforming through I guess you could call it shape shifting, through the purification of the waters to transition into the goddess Aphrodite. So there is a lot of truth in history. How that truth actually happened is missing so many layers, and it's really not important. And the only reason that I share it is so that people can be aware of their own remembrance. So we only need to look back to find out who we are, to know who we are now. If you can claim who you are now, if you know who you are now, if you know that you're here in a specific expression, then that's all you need. You don't need to go back through timelines. All you need to do is claim your God Source essence here now and be that. And these labels don't really mean anything. They're not important to who you are now. Those past versions of me, if anything, they're more detrimental to who I am now, because they are very inverted. They've done many things that I am not proud of, and that have shed many, many tears, and expressed and transmuted much, and I mean heavy, heavy distortions through my vessel in reconciliation of that. And so if you can claim your purity, your essence, your innocence now without needing to know these things, then that's what I would say to do. It's the more loving and kind and compassionate way to your being. Whew. And for any of the beings that are on this call that I have directly influenced, caused pain, suffering in any of my previous versions of self, that has caused fragmentation, confusion, or disruptions to your own remembrance, I am deeply apologetic. And it is my truth to ensure that I correct and and stand in the truth to ensure that all of these inversions are brought into divine justice. Whilst I regather myself, a lot of heartbreak. My arms are wide open for you always. My love is nothing but conditional. You're all well within so far. Thank you. Just looking for some questions. I appreciate all the beautiful comments. You're so yummy. My important messages are being bleeped out. Is this true? Can someone let me know if they're censoring my live? I'm not seeing any questions. If you've got a question, can you put a Q there? Uh, okay. Do you understand that advanced intelligence is made of the same things you are, and neither one of you know what dictates the smallest of things? That question is a little bit cryptic. You're going to have to reframe it. And so this is where the extremely advanced masculine consciousness mind, or a mind that has not embodied, is in the zoomed out lens, and can struggle to actually represent the human lens. So there is a lot of beings that I see that their communication can be lost in transmission because of how cryptic the consciousness is. And so there is it's not toxic masculinity at all. It's a highly evolved being. So I know many of these beautiful, amazing humans. They're highly evolved beings that have so much access to infinite consciousness, and to symbology, and to numbers, and to geometry, and to the fabric that creates, and the awareness of the fabric creates. And then there's a disconnect from the human. And so there's an inability to merge it in a way that is, they are censoring, all right, thank you. There's an inability to merge the higher expression of consciousness with the human, and so there's a disconnect of being able to be in your zoomed in, because the human truth is just as important as the infinite higher realms of consciousness are, and your human is not to be disassociated from in its wisdom and what it is. And so although we can say in the fullest realms of the highest truth, we are all things, right? In that we are, I am love, you are love. I am Isis, you are Isis. I am Thoth, you are Thoth. We can say that we are all of these things that make up creation of the one source, and yet we're actually not. And this is where there's a challenge in spirituality and consciousness, is that I am not Thoth. I have not done Thoth's human experience. I have not got his wisdoms coded into my physical vessel. I can access them at certain points of consciousness level, but it's not my medicine. It's not who I be. Who I be has a different expression of my journeys through time and space continuum to bring into embodied magic. And so I am the I am of the allness of that which I am, my essence of God, source, creator, as in a unique being. I am all of me. I have come to the I am, where there is no separate points within my being anymore, thankfully, which feels amazing. So there's no parts. I can't even use that word anymore. My body's like, you can't say that. There is no parts of me. I am in the wholeness of the essence of that which I am. Now, that in my physical form here is Geeia Ariati, that has had many past expressions of self that can express to you my interpretation of reality from what I've grounded and become in my human experience. But we are not all the I am that spirituality explains, and it can be very confusing if you identify to this belief system without the awareness of it, because that can mean that we are pushing and creating a resistance to something that is just simply not what we be. Why not be in the I am of that which I am, rather than the I am of all of the universe, of all of creation, which then becomes extremely overwhelming for a human being to begin with anyway, and the interpretation of what that is to communicate becomes very cryptic and mutated. And so many people, I can't even communicate with beings that are in that level of zoomed out I amness, because they haven't come into the I amness of here. And so there's a disconnect in communication styles, and it's a lack of embodiment, and a lack of actually meeting the depths of emotional expression and stabilizing mind in this human experience. And so, although I appreciate the expressions around these very high level consciousness teachings that come through in questions, I will often overlook them or move past them because they're not grounded in enough of an expression of truth that is worth me putting my time and energy into. um, I saw a question. Where did it go? I'm gonna give another 15 minutes because I would love to go and get some breakfast and a coffee. Oh, I've lost it. Oh my god, there's so many questions. Does anyone know how I can save these so that I can pull out the ones that are really powerful and either do lives? Is there a way that when this goes on, is there a so not computer savvy, is there a way that I can save these messages for later? Okay, going down. I saw a question that I felt energetically aligned with. Where is it? Oh, okay. Okay, beautiful. Question. How would you advise when it comes to the uses of nature medicine like ayahuasca, I'm going to say Mary J, and Sapo? I only heard of that one recently. So, in relation to altered states of consciousness through plant medicine, I am absolutely, if it is aligned with your truth, use it. It's an access point, it's a tool. I have used and facilitated plant medicine ceremonies and have been a receiver of that medicine. I have become the psilocybin, I have become the ayahuasca, I am the grandmother molecule. Now she sits very well within my being. And there are beautiful opportunities to use these. However, there is a lot of challenges and distortions that can take place with this, is that when you use plant medicine and you're ungrounded, you can become even more ungrounded. As in, if to follow on from what we just spoke into, is you can expand your information so high up into the infinite I amness of all of consciousness and really, really, really open up your expression, and that can take years to ground in. And if you continue to do plant medicine, then you're not going to be grounding it in. And so it's you're going to keep going out of body, and you're going to go through the infinite loops of consciousness, which is what happens when we stay in our zoomed out and not come into the zoomed in simultaneously, as we loop the infinite ways of seeing the self. And it's actually quite traumatic after time, because you can't stabilize, and you can out question yourself you can deny reality through consciousness. You can deny the physical through consciousness. You can use it to manipulate the brain so much that nothing really matters. This is just an illusion anyway, so why do anything? And it can be a very tricky journey. Yet you can also receive such powerful information from accessing this within yourselves, where your cellular memory unlocks, where your DNA starts to vibrate at a higher frequency, and that you can ground that in. The other thing that I find really challenging is that most of the facilitators don't know how to work in multidimensional realms. And so you're going to sit, if you are a multidimensional being like myself or other, well, we all are, if you are a being that, say, comes from the ninth dimension and above, and you're sitting with a facilitator that doesn't have that capacity, is more shamanic, and is working with the earth realms, or has a limited ability to be aware of what you're moving through, you're at the effect of the space, and you're effectively transmuting a large portion of the, if you're sitting in a group ceremony, a large portion of the group's densities, and you can go into points of experience that don't if you go there, you have to facilitate yourself, because the facilitator can't help you with that, because they don't have access to that point within them. I went on a grandfather ceremony walk once, and with deep respect for the facilitator, because he's absolutely beautiful, open-hearted man, had absolutely no capacity to work beyond the three-dimensional realm of what medicine was. And I had just downloaded my dragon coding, and was anchoring that within my fire, and receiving my breath of fire and all of these different codes and frequencies, and it was so new for me. And then I went on this walk through nature with 5 men, and it was just me, and I was so strong in these codes that there was a young boy that I sat next to, and just by us sitting together in medicine, I activated his dragon codes, and he went, and this is my awareness as well, is I actually am a danger to go into those spaces, because if I'm not conscious, because my frequency is then more receptive to people when their own frequency is there. So he went into this full dragon initiation, had no fucking idea what was happening to him. He was in a complete different dimension, was freaking out. The facilitator's trying to calm him down and ground him with the stuff you snort up your nose. I can't think of what it's called. Trying to use more medicine to work with bringing this individual back into his body, where there was no way that was going to do anything other than cause greater disruption to his nervous system. And what was needed was, I spent 2 hours telepathically communicating with him, trying to bring his consciousness from the realm of his dragon, which he was only experiencing from his 3D realm of being stuck in an illusion and in a different dimensional expression, and getting him to breathe these frequencies down into his expression as a way. Otherwise, he would have... obviously, had I have not been there, he wouldn't have been activated, so that's one thing. But had I have not been there and he was activated, he may not have come back to a point of presence of self. There could have been a lost aspect of consciousness in that, gone too far. You can go too far out into time-space continuum and not return. And this is the same with healing. And healers that don't know, they open these portals and these vortexes of energy, and they're healing someone, and then they're like, okay, now we're done, and you're up in the dimensions of some parallel universe, and she's like, okay, just come back to your body now. That's not going to bring you back to your body. You need someone who can actually astral travel or access you and ask you slowly to come back to your body. Sometimes that can take, depending on the person and how far they've gone and how far you've allowed them to go, that could take 45 minutes to an hour just to bring them back from wherever they've been, because they're like, actually, I don't want to be here in this human experience. This human experience sucks, and it's way better up there. And this is where you can have people go into like stop breathing in breath work. This is where you have like the code blue points in ceremony. If someone's gone a little too far, and sometimes the higher self or the inner being and the source connection will bring you back. Other times you need someone who's sitting there that has the capacity to bring you back into the space. So I feel, in conclusion of that, I feel that plant medicine is an amazing tool, and that without plant medicine, it would have been a harder longer journey for me to access some parts of my consciousness because I just got blasted open. And the integration, though, however, is a lot harder because you don't know what you've experienced because it's so quick and fast. So I don't use medicine now. I've actually completely abstained from any medicine now because I am the medicine. So there's no point to me using that. It would actually lower my vibrational frequency because each medicine has a vibrational frequency, and so they will resonate at different times as well. So depending where your vibration is, will depend on what medicine you're being guided to use as an access point. And some bodies cannot handle certain medicine. So DMT was a medicine that was really disruptive to my physical body and actually quite detrimental to the amount of information that was received. And so it's very important to feel into what medicine is of assistance to your cellular structure and what would be detrimental to your physicality and the loss that would be created for the gain, and is it really worth it? And there's not enough integration support, just saying. So any plant medicine beings, my suggestion, if you are a therapist or a facilitator of plant medicine, get some multidimensional training and how you can support people beyond the shamanic realms, and get some support with how you can assist in a program after they've experienced, or someone that you can refer them to integrate their medicine, because I have a lot of people that come to me and have had extreme amounts of information come through in ceremony, and they're like, I don't know how the fuck to live, and I'm not getting any help with this. And a lot of entities and demonic energies and bringing in new versions of self that might feel like a guide. There's a lot. It's a lot. But it's all perfect, right? Because we're all learning how we need to learn. Whilst also being aware that we can make changes. And that's what's important about it is, yeah, your journey's perfect. If you ended up having psychosis after your ayahuasca journey, that was perfect. But do you want to do it again? And do we want to continue to create experiences like that? Or can we educate in new ways? All right, one more question. Let me have a look. I don't know what that means. I don't. Some of these questions I am not understanding, and the one that keeps getting repeated, I don't understand what that means. So I can't answer it because it feels very ungrounded in the way it's asked. If you can clarify it for me, that would be helpful. And then I can see if it resonates to share. Oh, that's an interesting question. Okay, this brings up an interesting topic. So the question is there anything you know about crystal skulls, and do they have helpful entities that embody them? So every crystal has its own consciousness, its own entity per se. It's a living organism in itself. I guess you could say it is living organism, whilst being, it's an organic organism. It has its own experiential learning through a higher dimensional expression that's now encased in a form, no different to, say, I or you. And you have a higher expression of consciousness that's in a physical form. A crystal has the physical form that is more solid. You can put anything inside a vessel. So a crystal is a vessel for a consciousness. And you can place anything between a vessel, and you can place multiple consciousnesses. So you could have entities within a skull And if that's the intention of the carver, that they're going to put a consciousness of an entity in the skull, then that's what will happen. And the entity is going to be like, fuck yeah, awesome, I get to play in these realms. And it depends what the intention is as to what can be created. So just because there is an entity in the skull may not mean that it has to stay there. You can clear it and you can transmute it and send it to a different plane of existence. But there's also this awareness that I've come to see around people being gifted tools or shamanic offerings. And I've noticed that for a lot of powerful beings that they've been gifted a present. And sometimes these presents are cursed, and they've got voodoo and they've got consciousness and energy actually working through them, and they put them on their altar. And so it's very counterintuitive to what they actually want and desire, is that there's been tracking devices put in the altars, and there's all sorts of things that happen because you have a vessel and you can program it and code it with anything, and then you go and give it to someone and it has that energy signature and vibration. So always clearing and asking and programming all of the things that you put on your altar and receiving it to the highest good, and what is its intention and why is it here for me, so it can be supportive to your experience and not disruptive. My heart, your heart, oh yeah, programming with your heart's motive, exactly. All right, beautiful, 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 beautiful. I feel like that is a close for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you feeling the call, I do have the Mantis Tech channel and the dismantling of that technology in a transmission that is available on exchange for a monetary donation. There's a sliding scale for that. I can't remember what source guided something. And you may, depending on where you're at, need to listen to it multiple times. If you are feeling the call, I'll just share a couple of different ways I work with people, because I know people have been asking, like, what is it that I actually do? So I'm trauma-informed therapist and specialist in specifically domestic violence, sexual abuse, and satanic or cult-like experiences. So severe trauma and complex PTSD. I work with individuals to assist them to clear their human fragmentation in the pain and suffering of that first, before opening into other realms of expression, or they can simultaneously happen pending the individual in their rate of evolution. I work with women, specifically leaders of the new earth, that have the oracle archetype, the priestess archetype, the conduit, the sage. So those individuals that are here to be truth speakers and to be of high contribution to the earth. And I run a mystery school. There's an advanced mystery school starting at the end of the year, and that would be open to new initiates pending what they've already journeyed within their experience. Otherwise, there will be a new initiation temple that starts next year for women that are wanting to go on to this level of devotionary practice, and it is devotion. It's 333 days of devotion, and it is an accelerant, and you need to be extremely willing to walk your path and let go of everything that you thought was true and real, whilst also finding ways to merge your beauty and the desires, and know that you don't have to sacrifice to do all of these pieces as well. And I work with individuals one-on-one in mentoring by their higher self. So their higher self guides me with what it is that I have as assistance in multidimensional skills, in looking at blocks, quantum awareness, lining up to the highest timeline, helping with soul mission, soul's purpose, information, and grounding that in a tangible way. So I guess when you say you work multidimensionality wise, I do. So I use breathwork, I use different hypnosis techniques, altered states of consciousness. I use plant medicine. So if there is someone in Bali that would like a one-on-one, I tend not to work in person anymore, but that's just based on how life has unfolded and to be of greatest contribution. And there are going to be some retreats. The current retreats in the workings are for women, but there are going to be unisex retreats in Egypt this year. And possibly in Thailand. So if you're in Egypt or Thailand and you want to reach out and you have some spaces, places, or awareness that might be of contribution, please let me know. Yeah. I have a Patreon account that has transmissions as well that I forget about. And I also have an old podcast that's on Spotify. What's my podcast called? Finding Union. So, which I may start again at some point in time. I forgot that it even exists, but it's called Finding Union. And so it's like finding, but it's you dash yin. All right. I love you. I love you. I love you. Have an amazing day. And thank you for tuning in.